The market burned under a red sky. Smoke filled the air, and alien voices shouted in fear. Metal stalls lay broken on the ground. In the middle of the chaos, a small alien child cried, trapped between fallen crates. The crowd pulled back. No one wanted trouble. No one wanted to die. A human moved forward. His name did not matter to the crowd. To them, he was only a human, thin armor, no rank, no fear worth respecting. He saw the child's wide eyes and shaking hands. He heard the screams getting closer. 8 armored warriors pushed through the smoke. Their blades were long and bright, humming with power. They were enforcers. They did not ask questions. The human stepped between the child and the warriors. "Move," one warrior said. His voice was cold. "This area is cleared." The human did not move. He raised his empty hands and shook his head. "There's a child," he said. His voice was calm, even as his heart raced. "Let me take them away." The warriors laughed. A short, sharp sound. "You," another said. "You are nothing." The leader lifted his blade. The human turned his body sideways and spread his arms. He knew what would happen next. He did not look back. He did not beg. He only stood there, a thin wall of flesh in a wide galaxy of steel. The first blade struck his shoulder. Pain flashed white and hot. He gasped but stayed standing. The second blade cut into his side. Blood soaked his clothes. The third blade tore across his leg, and he almost fell. Almost. The crowd watched in silence now. Some aliens looked away. Others stared, confused. Humans did not do this. Humans ran. The fourth blade pierced his back. The fifth followed, then the sixth. Each strike was meant to end him. Each strike took more strength away. The child screamed. The human clenched his teeth and took another step forward, blocking the path with his body. His vision blurred. The world tilted. He felt cold creeping into his hands. "Enough," the leader said, annoyed. "Finish it." The seventh blade struck his chest. His breath left him in a broken sound. The eighth blade went in low. The human finally fell to his knees. Blood dripped onto the broken stones. His hands shook, but he stayed upright long enough to look back at the child. "Run," he whispered. The child crawled away, sobbing, small hands slipping on the ground. A moment later, the child disappeared into the smoke. The human smiled. Then he collapsed. The warriors stepped back, bored. "Clean this up," one said. "It's just a human." They left the body where it fell. For a moment, there was only fire and smoke. Then a medic drone arrived, scanning for survivors. It stopped above the human. Red lights flashed. Warning sounded. The readings did not make sense. A body should not still be alive after 8 blades. The drone called for help. At a distant station, an old signal woke up. It was not loud. It was not fast. But it was ancient. It carried a simple truth across the stars: a human had taken 8 blades to protect a child. In another system, a warrior paused while training. In another, a commander went still while reading reports. Across the galaxy, those who knew the old codes felt something tighten in their chests. Back in the ruined market, medics lifted the human onto a stretcher. His pulse was weak. His breathing shallow. But he was alive. And somewhere far away, ships began to turn toward his location. The galaxy did not know it yet, but something had changed. The medical station lights were white and cold. Machines hummed in a steady rhythm. The human lay still on the bed, wrapped in seals and wires. His chest moved slowly, as if every breath was a choice. Doctors gathered around him, their faces tight with disbelief. He should be dead, one said. 8 blade wounds. Vital damage. Blood loss beyond limits. Another checked the screen again. But he isn't. No one understood why his heart still beat. In a quiet corner of the room, the alien child sat on the floor. The child's hands were small and stained with dried blood that was not their own. They had not left the human's side since the medics brought him in. Every time the machines beeped faster, the child looked up, afraid. Outside the station, the city burned less now. The riot had faded, but fear stayed. Whispers spread through streets and ships. Someone had recorded the market attack. The video moved from device to device, from planet to planet. A human. Standing still. Taking blade after blade. At first, many aliens laughed. Stupid, they said. Weak. But not everyone laughed. On a distant world made of stone and iron, an old warrior watched the video in silence. His armor was worn, marked by centuries of war. When the 8th blade struck, his eyes narrowed. That stance, he said quietly. That choice. He stood up slowly and turned to his crew. Send this to the High Guard. Across the stars, more messages followed. Old codes awakened. Signals that had not been used for generations began to move again. They all carried the same image. The same moment. The same truth. Back at the medical station, the human's condition worsened. His pulse dropped. His breath slowed. The child stood and grabbed the edge of the bed. Please, the child whispered in broken speech. Don't go. The human did not answer. But the machine beeped once, sharp and clear. A small rise in heart rate. One doctor stared at the screen. He responded. Impossible, another said. Still, they worked harder. They sealed wounds. They pushed energy into failing organs. They did everything they could. Far above the planet, space folded. One ship appeared. Then another. Then many more. They were not trade ships. Not patrols. Their shapes were sharp and old, built for battle, not beauty. Their hulls carried marks of long wars. These were not modern fleets. These were elite. Sensors screamed across the system. Stations panicked. Leaders demanded answers. No response came. The ships moved with purpose, slow and steady, as if time itself waited for them. On the medical station, alarms rang. The chief doctor ran to the window and froze. His breath caught. What are those? Someone asked. No one answered. In a command chamber deep inside the largest ship, a tall figure watched the station on a wide screen. His armor was dark, his presence heavy. He did not speak for a long time. A human, one officer said carefully. Why are we here? The commander finally spoke. His voice was low and firm. Because that human did what many of us forgot how to do. He leaned forward. He stood when it was easier to step away. The officer hesitated. Is he important? The commander's eyes burned. After today, he said, he is protected. Back on the bed, the human's fingers twitched. The child noticed first. He moved, the child said softly. The doctors rushed in again. The readings climbed, just a little. Outside, elite ships began their descent. Inside the station, fear turned into silence. The galaxy was changing its mind. And the human, broken but unbowed, was at the center of it all. The sky above the medical station darkened. Not with clouds, but with ships. Their shadows moved slowly across the ground, wide and heavy, blocking the light. People stopped walking. Voices died mid-sentence. Even the alarms seemed quieter, as if the station itself was afraid. No weapons fired. No warnings were given. The ship simply arrived. At the main entrance of the station, guards raised their rifles with shaking hands. The doors began to vibrate. Then they opened on their own. A line of armored figures stepped inside. Their armor was old but perfect. Not polished, not bright, earned. Each step was slow and measured. These were not soldiers who rushed. These were warriors who never needed to. Doctors backed away from the halls. Patients were moved aside. No one tried to stop them. The alien child stood by the human's bed, holding the edge with both hands. The child felt the change in the air before the doors to the room opened. The elite warriors entered. There were 12 of them. They filled the room without effort. The lights reflected off their armor, and for the first time since the riot, the room felt safe, and dangerous at the same time. The lead warrior looked at the human on the bed. Tubes ran from his body. Bandages covered his chest. His skin was pale. His breathing was weak. The warrior removed his helmet. His face was old. Scarred. Calm. "He still lives," the warrior said. A doctor swallowed and nodded. "Barely." The warrior stepped closer and looked at the wound readings. 8 marks. 8 deep scars that should have ended a life. He stood alone, the warrior said softly. Against blades. For a child not his own. No one spoke. Behind him, one by one, the other elite warriors removed their helmets. Then, together, they knelt. The sound of heavy armor touching the floor echoed through the room. The child's eyes went wide. The doctors froze in shock. They were not kneeling to a king. They were kneeling to a human. The lead warrior placed his hand over his chest. "By the old code," he said, "this life is under our protection." The chief doctor found his voice. "We don't understand," he said. "He's just." The warrior's eyes lifted slowly. "Just a human?" he asked. The room felt colder. "In all our wars," the warrior continued, "many fought for orders. Many fought for power. Few fought for the weak." He looked at the child. He did. Outside the station, news spread fast. Live feeds showed elite ships surrounding the city. Messages poured in from across the system. Fear changed into questions. Questions turned into silence. Back in the room, the human stirred. It was small. Almost nothing. But every warrior saw it. The human's chest rose more clearly. His fingers curled slightly. The child let out a small sound and moved closer. "You're here," the child whispered. The human's eyes opened. They were tired. Confused. But alive. He tried to move and failed. Pain flashed across his face. The lead warrior stood and stepped forward. "Do not move," he said gently. "Your stand is finished." The human frowned weakly. His voice was rough. "Did the kid?" The child nodded fast. "I'm safe." The human closed his eyes and breathed out. Around him, elite warriors stood watch. Outside, ships locked into position, not to attack, but to guard. Across the galaxy, a message spread, clear and final. This human is not alone. And for the first time in a long time, the galaxy understood something it had forgotten. Human courage was not loud. But it was unstoppable. The first broadcast began without warning. Every major channel across the galaxy cut to the same image, the ruined market, frozen in time. Smoke hung in the air. Firelight danced on broken stone. The footage played slowly, clearly. A human stepped forward. Commentary was silent. No music. No edits. Just truth. Viewers watched as the human raised empty hands. They saw the first blade strike. Then the second. Then more. Each impact replayed from different angles. 8 blades. 8 moments where he could have stepped aside. He did not. When the child ran free, the broadcast stopped. For a long moment, the galaxy said nothing. Then questions exploded. Why did he stay? Why did he not run? Why would a human die for an alien child? On council worlds, leaders argued. Some demanded punishment for the attackers. Others demanded excuses. It was chaos, they said. An accident. The elite did not answer. Instead, more ships arrived. They did not threaten. They simply positioned themselves above key systems, silent and watching. At the medical station, the humans slept. Healing was slow. Machines worked without rest. The child stayed near, drawing small pictures on a tablet, simple shapes, simple colors. The human's bed became the safest place on the station. Elite warriors rotated guard in silence. Doctors stopped asking questions. They had learned not to. Across the stars, old stories resurfaced. Veterans told younger soldiers about ancient codes. About the rule that said, those who shield the innocent are beyond rank and species. Most had thought it was legend. Now it was standing in a hospital bed, breathing. Public opinion shifted fast. Aliens who once laughed felt shame. Markets held moments of silence. Schools replayed the footage, not as warning, but as lesson. Humans were no longer spoken of as weak. They were spoken of carefully. On the Council's central world, an emergency session was called. Holograms filled the chamber. Voices rose. This changes nothing, one counselor shouted. He acted alone. A tall figure stepped forward. His armor marked him as elite. It changes everything, he said calmly. He activated a display. Numbers filled the air. Trade routes. Military balance. Alliance stability. Humans are watching, he continued. And so are we. The room fell quiet. Back at the station, the human finally woke for real. His eyes focused. Pain followed. He groaned softly. The child jumped up. You're awake. The human smiled weakly. Looks like I lost, he said. The child shook their head hard. No. You won. A warrior stepped closer. Because of you, he said, a new order is forming. The human frowned. I didn't do it for orders. We know, the warrior replied. That is why it matters. Outside, ships moved again, not into attack lines, but into protective formations. Worlds once ignored by the elite now found guardians above them. The attackers from the market were captured quietly. No public trial. No spectacle. They were taken away by ships that did not return. The galaxy noticed. In news feeds, analysts struggled to explain the change. Some called it fear. Others called it honor. The human did not care. He watched the child laugh at something small and felt peace settle in his chest. Far away, a message went out across every known system, signed by the elite command. It was short. It was clear. A human stood when others stepped back. From this moment forward, any who harm those under human protection answer to us. The message ended. The galaxy understood. Humanity had not asked for power. But power had answered their courage. And it was not leaving. Continue next part more unique. The galaxy slowed. Trade lanes emptied. Patrols held position. Even the councils stopped arguing. Everyone waited, because everyone knew something final was coming. At the medical station, the human sat upright for the first time. His movements were careful. Every breath still hurt, but his eyes were clear. The elite warriors stood around the room, not as guards now, but as witnesses. The alien child sat beside him, legs swinging, holding a small drawing. It showed a stick-figure human standing in front of a smaller shape. 8 dark lines crossed the human's body. "You remember," the human said softly. The child nodded. "So the galaxy doesn't forget." A tall elite commander stepped forward. He removed his helmet and placed it on the floor. His voice carried weight, the kind earned over centuries. "Your act has awakened an old law," he said. "One written in blood, not ink." The human frowned. "I didn't mean to start anything." "That is why it is real," the commander replied. Across the galaxy, every screen lit up again. This time, it was live. No edits. No delay. The human's image appeared, bandaged, tired, but alive. "This is not a victory speech," the commander announced. "It is a declaration." He turned slightly toward the human. This human stood against 8 blades to protect a child of another species. He did not know who watched. He did not ask for reward. The commander faced the camera. "From this moment forward," he said, "any being who shields the innocent, as this human did, is under elite protection." Gasps echoed across worlds. This is now galactic law. On the council world, no one objected. They could not. The commander continued. "Those who raise blades against the defenseless will face us." The broadcast ended. Silence followed. Then something rare happened. Applause. It began on one station. Then another. Then across cities, ships, and worlds. Different species. Different voices. One response. Respect. The human shifted uncomfortably. "This feels like too much." The commander looked at him. "Courage always feels that way to those who carry it." Later, as ships slowly returned to their routes, messages arrived from places the human had never heard of. Some were thanks. Others were quiet promises. Humans began to be treated differently. Not as rulers. Not as threats. As protectors. The child stood and hugged the human tightly. "You didn't save just me," the child said. "You saved others I don't know yet." The human closed his eyes for a moment and rested his head back. Then it was worth it. Outside, elite ships remained in orbit, not as a warning, but as a reminder. A reminder of what happens when one ordinary person makes an extraordinary choice. In time, the human would walk again. He would return home. His name would spread, then fade, then become story. But the law would remain. Not because of fear. Not because of power. But because, on one burning day, in a broken market, a human stood still and said without words, "Not today." And the galaxy listened.